the hip-hop world has been rocked by one of the biggest courtroom developments in recent memory. After months of legal battles, shocking allegations, and non-stop speculation, Lil Durk is once again at the center of headlines. But this time, the biggest twist isn't just what happened inside the courtroom. It's who allegedly decided to cooperate. For months, fans believed prosecutors would struggle to build their case. Supporters insisted there wasn't enough evidence to connect every allegation. But as the investigation continued, prosecutors claimed they gathered testimony from multiple cooperating witnesses, turning what many expected to be a difficult case into one of the most talked about legal stories in rap. The biggest question now is whether those alleged insiders changed everything. How much impact did their testimony really have? Did prosecutors finally build the case they had been working toward, or is there still more to this story than fans have seen online? Today, we're breaking down everything surrounding Lil Durk's legal situation, the reported cooperation from alleged OTF associates, what prosecutors have argued in court, how the case reached this point, and why the hip-hop community is so divided over what comes next. We'll separate confirmed court developments from online rumors, explain the timeline that led here, and look at why this case has become one of the most closely followed legal battles in rap. Because in hip-hop, loyalty has always been one of the most respected values. But when federal investigations begin, alliances can change, testimony can reshape a case, and one courtroom decision can send shockwaves across the entire culture. Stay with us, because this story is far more complicated than the headlines suggest. The hip-hop world has been following Lil Durk's legal battle for months, but the latest developments have pushed the case into an entirely different spotlight. What began as an investigation surrounded by rumors, online debates, and social media speculation has now become one of the biggest legal stories in rap. Every new court filing, every reported witness, and every hearing has generated thousands of reactions from fans trying to understand what is really happening behind the scenes. While social media often moves faster than the facts, federal court proceedings follow a much slower path, where prosecutors must present evidence and build their case step by step. That is why every recent update has attracted so much attention. Supporters continue to hope Durk can defend himself against the allegations, while others believe prosecutors are becoming increasingly confident as more information enters the public record. Regardless of which side people believe, nearly everyone agrees that this case could become one of the defining legal stories in modern hip-hop. To understand why the latest developments have sparked so much discussion, it helps to look back at how this case reached its current stage. Federal prosecutors have accused Lil Durk of playing a role in an alleged murder-for-hire plot connected to a long-running rivalry. Durk has denied the allegations, and like every defendant in a criminal case, he remains presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. That legal principle is important because many conversations online blur the line between accusations and established facts. Headlines often spread within minutes, while the legal process takes months or even years to unfold. Court filings, witness testimony, digital evidence, surveillance records, and phone data all become part of a process that is much more detailed than the viral clips circulating across social media. This difference between internet speculation and courtroom procedure has become one of the biggest reasons why people remain divided over the case. Much of the recent attention has focused on reports that multiple individuals connected to the investigation have decided to cooperate with federal authorities. In high-profile federal cases, cooperating witnesses often become a major talking point because prosecutors may use their testimony alongside physical and digital evidence to strengthen their arguments. However, testimony by itself is not automatically accepted as truth. Defense attorneys have the opportunity to challenge witnesses, question their credibility, and argue that cooperating individuals may have personal incentives for reaching agreements with prosecutors. That is one reason why experienced legal analysts often remind the public to wait until evidence is presented in court rather than relying entirely on headlines or social media summaries. Even so, whenever reports emerge that additional witnesses are cooperating, public interest naturally increases because many people wonder how those statements could influence the overall direction of the case. The phrase snitching has dominated conversations online, but inside a federal courtroom the language is very different. Prosecutors refer to cooperating witnesses, plea agreements, and testimony obtained during investigations. Hip-hop culture has traditionally viewed cooperation with law enforcement as a controversial subject, making every report about a cooperating witness spread rapidly across social media platforms. Fans immediately begin asking the same questions. Who is cooperating? What information do they actually have? Is their testimony supported by independent evidence? Those questions matter because federal prosecutors typically attempt to support witness statements with additional material such as surveillance footage, financial records, communications, travel information, or forensic evidence. The stronger the combination of evidence, the stronger prosecutors argue their overall case becomes. At the same time, defense lawyers carefully examine every piece of evidence looking for inconsistencies that could create reasonable doubt before a jury. Another reason this investigation continues generating headlines is Lil Durk's enormous influence within hip-hop. Over the past decade, he has become one of Chicago's most successful artists, building a career through consistent releases, major collaborations, and chart success. His music helped shape the sound of modern drill while expanding into mainstream audiences around the world. Millions of fans know him not only for his music but also for his leadership within Only the Family, commonly known as OTF. Because of that influence, every legal update involving Durk immediately becomes larger than a typical celebrity news story. Artists, producers, bloggers, and fans all weigh in with their own opinions, creating an endless cycle of reactions that often spreads much faster than verified information. As the investigation continues moving through the federal court system, one thing has become increasingly clear: the courtroom battle is no longer just about legal arguments. It has become a story that sits at the intersection of music, loyalty, public perception, and one of the most closely watched criminal cases in the rap industry today. Federal investigations rarely move as quickly as social media headlines suggest, and that is exactly why this case has generated so much confusion. Every time a new court filing appears, dozens of creators rush to publish videos claiming the entire case has changed overnight. Some headlines declare victory for prosecutors, while others insist the defense has already won. The reality is usually much more complicated. In federal court, every filing, motion, and witness statement becomes only one piece of a much larger legal puzzle. Prosecutors continue building their argument, while defense attorneys examine every allegation, every timeline, and every witness for possible inconsistencies. That back and forth is what makes federal cases so unpredictable. A single development can attract massive attention online without necessarily determining the final outcome of the trial. One of the biggest reasons this investigation has stayed in the spotlight is the discussion surrounding cooperating witnesses. Reports that individuals connected to the case have entered plea agreements immediately sparked debate throughout the hip-hop community. Fans began asking whether those witnesses could provide first-hand information, while others questioned whether people facing their own criminal charges might have strong incentives to cooperate with investigators. Defense attorneys often argue that cooperating witnesses may hope for reduced sentences, making credibility an important issue during trial. Prosecutors, on the other hand, generally attempt to support witness testimony with additional evidence such as phone records, surveillance footage, financial transactions, travel records, and digital communications. That combination of evidence is often where the real courtroom battle begins, because juries are asked to consider the total picture rather than relying on a single statement. As more information entered the public conversation, legal analysts started discussing how federal prosecutors typically approach large investigations. Instead of relying on one witness or one document, they usually spend months collecting multiple forms of evidence before presenting their case. That process can include interviews, search warrants, forensic analysis, electronic records, and testimony from numerous individuals. At the same time, defense lawyers carefully examine whether investigators followed proper procedures and whether every piece of evidence is reliable and legally admissible. Those legal arguments often happen long before a jury hears the case, making pretrial hearings almost as important as the trial itself. While those proceedings rarely receive the same attention as viral headlines, they frequently shape what evidence can eventually be presented inside the courtroom. Another major factor keeping this story alive is Lil Durk's position within the music industry. Over the years, he has grown from a rising Chicago artist into one of rap's biggest stars, earning chart success, platinum records, and collaborations with some of the industry's biggest names. His influence extends beyond music through his leadership role within Only the Family, commonly known as OTF. Because of that success, every legal development attracts attention not only from fans but also from artists, producers, bloggers, and entertainment media. The case has become larger than one individual because many people see it as another example of how legal issues involving major artists quickly become cultural conversations that extend far beyond the courtroom. Social media has only intensified that attention. Within minutes of any reported development, clips begin circulating across multiple platforms, often accompanied by dramatic captions that suggest conclusions before all the facts are available. Short videos rarely explain the difference between allegations, testimony, court filings, and final verdicts. Instead, viewers often receive only the most dramatic moments without the legal context surrounding them. That creates an environment where rumors spread rapidly and speculation is sometimes mistaken for confirmed information. For that reason, many legal commentators encourage audiences to distinguish between verified court records and unconfirmed claims circulating online. Understanding the difference is essential in any high-profile criminal case. The discussion has also reopened broader conversations about loyalty within hip-hop culture. For decades, artists have spoken about trust, brotherhood, and standing by the people around them. Whenever reports surface that someone has decided to cooperate with law enforcement, the reaction from fans is immediate. Some argue that every person has the right to make legal decisions in their own best interest, while others believe cooperation violates deeply rooted cultural expectations. Those debates often become emotional because they touch on issues that go far beyond music. Yet inside a courtroom, prosecutors and defense attorneys focus less on public opinion and more on whether testimony can be supported, challenged, or contradicted through evidence presented under the rules of law. As the legal process continues, one thing remains certain: the final outcome will be determined in court, not through viral posts or online commentary. Every new filing may generate headlines, but the most important questions are still answered through evidence, legal arguments, and judicial rulings. Until that process is complete, the case will likely continue dominating conversations across the hip-hop community, with every update bringing new theories, fresh debate, and renewed attention from millions of fans eager to learn what happens next. As the investigation continued, another question began dominating conversations across hip-hop: why did prosecutors continue expanding the scope of the case instead of relying on only one theory? Legal experts have pointed out that federal prosecutors often present multiple forms of evidence and several legal arguments rather than depending on a single witness or one piece of testimony. That approach is designed to strengthen the overall case if it eventually goes before a jury. At the same time, defense attorneys examine every allegation carefully, looking for contradictions, procedural issues, and weaknesses in the government's evidence. That legal back and forth is completely different from the way stories unfold on social media, where one headline can instantly convince people that a case has already been decided. In reality, criminal cases often change as new filings are made, witnesses are questioned, and judges rule on what evidence may or may not be introduced during trial. Another topic that has fueled endless discussion is the role of digital evidence. Modern federal investigations rarely rely on testimony alone. Investigators may analyze phone records, text messages, financial transactions, travel records, surveillance footage, and electronic communications. Prosecutors generally argue that when multiple forms of evidence support each other, they create a clearer timeline of events. Defense lawyers, however, often challenge whether those records have been interpreted correctly or whether they actually prove the government's allegations beyond a reasonable doubt. That is why courtroom battles frequently become highly technical. Jurors are not simply asked whether they believe one witness. They are asked to consider every piece of evidence together before reaching a verdict. Until that process is complete, allegations remain allegations rather than established facts. Throughout this legal battle, fans have also debated the impact on Lil Durk's career. Even while facing serious legal challenges, his music continues generating streams, his previous albums remain popular, and discussions about his influence on Chicago drill continue across the industry. Many supporters argue that his musical legacy should be separated from the ongoing legal process, while others believe high-profile artists inevitably face public scrutiny whenever criminal allegations emerge. That divide has created intense debates online, with every court update immediately becoming a trending topic across YouTube, X, Instagram, and hip-hop blogs. The speed at which opinions spread often makes it difficult for casual viewers to separate confirmed developments from speculation, especially when multiple creators interpret the same court filing in completely different ways. The conversation surrounding loyalty has become just as significant as the legal arguments themselves. Hip-hop has long celebrated loyalty, trust, and standing beside your team during difficult times. Because of that culture, every report involving cooperating witnesses immediately sparks emotional reactions. Some people argue that anyone facing federal charges will naturally try to protect themselves through legal agreements if possible. Others believe those decisions permanently damage personal relationships and reputations. Regardless of where someone stands, those cultural conversations exist separately from the courtroom itself. Judges and juries focus on evidence presented under legal rules, while fans often focus on personal loyalty, street credibility, and public perception. The difference between those two worlds helps explain why this case has generated such passionate opinions from every corner of the rap community. Another reason the story continues attracting attention is the number of legal analysts who have weighed in publicly. Some have argued that federal prosecutors appear confident because of the amount of evidence they claim to have gathered. Others have urged caution, reminding audiences that many headline-grabbing allegations are tested only after witnesses are cross-examined and evidence is challenged in court. Experienced defense attorneys often emphasize that pretrial filings represent only one side's arguments. Prosecutors explain why they believe evidence supports the charges, while defense lawyers later present competing interpretations and challenge the government's narrative. That adversarial process is a cornerstone of the justice system, ensuring that both sides have an opportunity to present their case before any final judgment is reached. At the same time, the broader hip-hop industry continues watching closely because the outcome could influence more than one artist. High-profile criminal cases often become reference points for discussions about social media, lyrics, public image, and how law enforcement investigates alleged criminal organizations. Artists, managers, and record executives all recognize that these cases can shape public conversations for years. Whether someone supports Lil Durk or believes prosecutors have built a strong case, nearly everyone agrees that the legal proceedings will remain under intense public scrutiny until they are resolved through the court system. For now, one fact remains more important than any viral headline. Despite constant online speculation, legal cases are decided inside courtrooms, not on social media. Every motion, every witness, every piece of evidence, and every legal argument will ultimately be examined according to the law. Until a final judgment is entered, claims of guilt or innocence remain matters to be determined through that legal process. As new developments continue to emerge, fans, commentators, and the music industry will undoubtedly keep following every update, waiting to see how one of rap's most closely watched legal battles eventually concludes. As the case continues moving through the legal system, one of the biggest lessons has been how quickly public opinion can shift after every court update. One filing can make it seem as though prosecutors have gained a major advantage, while the next hearing may give the defense new opportunities to challenge the government's arguments. That constant back and forth is why experienced legal analysts repeatedly remind viewers that criminal cases should be judged by what is presented inside the courtroom rather than by viral headlines. Every motion, witness statement, and piece of evidence must be examined according to legal standards before it can influence the outcome of a trial. While social media often rewards dramatic conclusions, the justice system moves much more carefully, requiring prosecutors to prove every element of their case and allowing defense attorneys to challenge every important claim. For Lil Durk, the legal proceedings have also become a defining moment for his public image. Long before these allegations emerged, he had established himself as one of the most influential voices in modern hip-hop. His rise from Chicago's drill scene to mainstream success inspired countless younger artists, and his catalog earned millions of listeners around the world. Because of that success, every court appearance and every legal filing immediately becomes front-page entertainment news. Fans continue debating what the future holds for his career, while others focus entirely on the legal process itself. Regardless of individual opinions, the reality is that cases involving major celebrities receive attention unlike ordinary criminal proceedings, with every update becoming part of a much larger public conversation. The debate has extended beyond the courtroom and into the music industry itself. Artists, producers, podcast hosts, and media personalities have all shared different opinions about what these developments could mean. Some believe the government's case has grown stronger as more evidence has reportedly been introduced, while others argue that the defense will have opportunities to challenge both the credibility of witnesses and the interpretation of key evidence. That disagreement is common in high-profile cases because each side naturally presents the facts in the light most favorable to its own position. Until testimony is heard, evidence is tested, and legal arguments are completed, outside observers can only analyze the publicly available information rather than predict the final result with certainty. One of the reasons this story continues attracting millions of views online is that it combines several topics that always capture public attention. There is the legal investigation itself, the celebrity status of the people involved, the discussion surrounding loyalty within hip-hop, and the broader questions about how federal cases are built. Each new update gives creators another opportunity to explain legal filings, discuss witness testimony, and analyze the possible direction of the investigation. However, viewers should remember that many viral videos simplify complex legal issues into short headlines that may leave out important context. Understanding the difference between allegations, evidence, and proven facts remains essential whenever following any ongoing criminal case. Another interesting aspect of this situation is how quickly narratives develop across social media platforms. A single rumor can spread to millions of people within hours, often before official court documents become publicly available. That creates an environment where speculation sometimes travels faster than verified information. As a result, responsible reporting becomes even more important. Reliable coverage distinguishes between confirmed court filings, statements made by attorneys, public records, and unverified online claims. While speculation may generate clicks, accurate reporting helps audiences understand what has actually happened rather than what people merely believe has happened. That distinction becomes increasingly important as high-profile legal cases continue to unfold under intense public scrutiny. The defense, meanwhile, continues to have the opportunity to respond to the government's allegations through the legal process. Defense attorneys can challenge witness credibility, question investigative methods, dispute the interpretation of evidence, and present alternative explanations for events discussed by prosecutors. Those protections exist in every criminal case because the legal system requires the government to meet a high burden before obtaining a conviction. Observers often forget that pretrial filings represent arguments rather than final conclusions. Judges rule on legal questions, juries evaluate evidence, and only after those stages are complete can a final verdict be reached. That careful process helps ensure that decisions are based on evidence presented in court rather than public pressure or online commentary. No matter how the proceedings ultimately conclude, this case has already left a significant impact on conversations throughout hip-hop. It has prompted discussions about accountability, loyalty, celebrity influence, and the challenges artists face when personal lives and legal issues become public. It has also highlighted how rapidly information travels in the digital age, where courtroom developments become trending topics within minutes. Fans will undoubtedly continue following every hearing, every filing, and every statement from both sides, searching for clues about what comes next. As this chapter continues, the most important thing for everyone following the story is patience. High-profile legal cases often take much longer than people expect, and meaningful developments usually come from official court proceedings rather than internet speculation. Until the legal process reaches its conclusion, every update should be viewed within the broader context of the evidence, the arguments presented by both sides, and the fundamental principle that allegations must ultimately be tested in court. That is what makes this one of the most closely watched stories in hip-hop today, and it is why so many people will continue paying attention until the final legal questions are resolved. Before you go, let me know what you think about this entire situation. Do you believe the government's case has become significantly stronger with the reported cooperating witnesses, or do you think Lil Durk's legal team still has a realistic chance to challenge the prosecution's evidence in court? There are strong opinions on both sides, and this case continues to divide the hip-hop community with every new development. I'd love to hear your perspective, so drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's have a respectful discussion. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more updates on the biggest stories in hip-hop, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We cover the latest rap news, courtroom developments, industry drama, album updates, and everything happening in the culture, always breaking down the facts in a way that's easy to follow. Don't forget to turn on all notifications so you never miss an upload. With stories changing almost every day, you'll be the first to know whenever new court documents are released, major legal developments happen, or artists respond publicly. Finally, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Your support truly helps the channel grow, and I appreciate every single one of you who watches, comments, shares, and joins the conversation. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.